Okay, so based on the references you have identified, two things you need to do. Number one, the references should not be the heading of your slide. They should be in the footnote of each slide, footnote section of each slide. So you need to add a footnote space to each slide, and then you bring the references down to the footnote, and make sure the references are in complete Gaya UKM format, which is the year, the author, the year, and the title. If it's a journal article, you need a journal title, the article title and the journal. If it's a book, then it's the book title with the publisher's information. So make it more formal. That way, other people may be able to refer to it. So that's the first thing, which is references must be included in each slide. And the second thing is you need to ensure that the heading of each slide identifies an issue that you want to talk about. Remember, this is a review of the topic you have chosen. So the topic you have chosen is hypermasculinity in MLE. So I wouldn't even say hypermasculinity of male protagonists. So just hypermasculinity in Malaysian literature in English. So, based on your reading, your current reading, the 5 journal articles, what are the patterns that are emerging? What are the, do you see a kind of development? Is there a kind of shift in mindset of writers approaching, hypermasculinity in MLE? Is there kind of an emerging shift that previous writers or previous generation writers never saw? Or is there a kind of a shift in terms of being more conscious of hypermasculinity, meaning previous generation writers were not that conscious, but the current generation writers are more aware and they seem to assert hypermasculinity even more in their narrative. So based on the limited reading, because 5 journal articles is quite limited, but based on the limited reading, what can you say? This is for assignment 1. And later, when you expand this further, you may be able to see more patterns emerging, right?
Okay.
So first of all, are you looking at hypermasculinity amongst as represented by male writers or by male and female writers? That's another variable. So keep in mind that every research you need 2 to 3 variables. So one variable is hypermasculinity, the theme. The other variable is the corpus, Malaysian literature in English. The third variable would be writers, because as you add variables, you narrow the scope. Otherwise, your scope becomes too broad, too universal, and it's a bit difficult to do a proper survey if it's too broad, right? So you may say in 20th century Malaysian literature in English, or in hypermasculinity in 21st century Malaysian literature in English. So you are only focusing on texts produced in the published in the 21st century or 20th century, or by male writers and not female writers, or by male and female, or by selected male and female writers. So your variables will kind of narrow the scope, and you can kind of allow the significance and limitations of your research to be seen clearly in your title. Okay? So my suggestion is go through each slide, slide 4, 5, 6, and then ask yourself, what is the key point I'm highlighting here? Don't use the slide to showcase the reference. Rather, use the slide to showcase key issues or patterns within this topic of hypermasculinity. So that way, you can have slide 1, you bring Qayyum 2008. Maybe slide 6, you repeat Qayyum 2008 again, because there are many different patterns within Qayyum 2008's work. that you want to break down the patterns each on one slide, right?
Mm-hmm.
For instance, this idea of gender hierarchy, Kayum 2020 illustrates that gender hierarchy is an important theme in, an important pattern in the way hypermasculinity is presented. Who else reiterates this point? Besides Kayum 2020, who else reiterate this point? So that way, each slide is not showcasing one title per se, one reference or one journal article. Each slide may bring up two or three different references, and they may be the same references, that's fine. But what matters is you are showing the patterns of discussion of previous research on this topic of hypermasculinity.
Alright. Doctor, about the video itself, let's say I would like to mix the idea of using slide presentation and also maybe insert clips because the one that I did for another course is somewhat similar, but because this one has a lot of videos in it, but this video editing technique could be applied for this assignment as well because
Again, which other course?
Orientalism.
Uh-huh.
So this is the kind of video that I produce. So I was
Uh-huh.
wondering, because I don't really want to limit myself to just slide recording.
Right.
So I was wondering if I could maybe insert some of the elements in this video.
Meaning you want to refer to your own research. What do you mean by elements from this video, meaning?
Meaning, if it's okay for the video assignment essay where I insert related images while I'm explaining about the essay.
I still don't understand. That means your visual is not there. You just put voice over. Is that what you mean?
Um, I'll still be putting on but at the same time, if there's like a picture that I wanted to showcase that is related to the matters that I'm talking about, or maybe video clips that are related to what I'm discussing about, is it okay to put it into the video recording
It's
for the
okay as long as it's based on the references that you have identified. Because keeping in mind, this is a literature review assignment based on the journal articles you have identified. Unlike a broader topic where you might want to talk about hypermasculinity in popular culture broadly, this assignment is only on the references you have identified. So that being the case, don't waste your time looking at other references like Edward Said and all that. You only
Mhm.
need those references at the beginning when you are operationalizing hypermasculinity. When you are defining hypermasculinity, you need those references. Other than that, go straight into the journal articles.
Okay.
Yeah, because you want it to be focused, you know? Yeah.
What else? What else? I think that's it, Doctor, for my part.
Okay, brilliant. Looks good. I look forward to seeing the video essay, and I think if you stay focused, you may be able to work towards uh, an actual journal article, even if you are interested. So if you work smart like this, you are already developing the paper from week 4, and you build on it and build on it and whatever you prepare in the video essay, you transfer that into a Word document, and you already have the first maybe 4 or 5 pages of your journal article. and later you kind of add a methodology to it and analysis. Voila, you've got your final project. Okay?
Okay.
Yeah, cool.
All right. Thank you, doctor.
Welcome. I'll keep this recording for you later.
Okay.
Okay, bye bye.
Bye bye.